Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Our next session is a panel discussion on mastering abandonment flows, how to recover lost sales across the customer journey. With us, we have Matias Mancheno, Customer Success Manager at Omnisend, supporting merchants in creating personalized revenue-driven emails and SMS campaigns. We also have Ian Misner, co-founder at Kestrel, focused on building tools and solutions for WordPress businesses and developers. Welcome, guys. How you doing today?
Hello, Matt. Thank you very much for the introduction. Yes, hello, everybody. Happy to be here. And yes, we're going to talk all about abandonment flows today, I believe. And happy to also to be joined by Ian today. I'm pretty sure he's going to know a lot of things that I probably don't know. And hopefully between the two of us, we can give you a lot of new ideas and new inspiration for your marketing.
Well, we're really excited to have you both here today. Ian, anything you want to say before I dive into our questions?
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the intro.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So first question we have for you, where in the customer journey do you see the highest abandonment rates and why do you think they happen there?
Perfect. So if everything is okay, I'll start some slides so the audience can also have some look at the pointers and we can talk on top of that.
That'd be great.
Just give me a second here. I'll be sharing the screen. But until that you can start speaking, Ian, I think you can start with those insights.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, this really comes down to, how you define abandonment. It's like the customer journey does start before the cart, right? So ultimately, when we talk about abandonment flows, we definitely are thinking primarily about the drop-off that happens after products are added to the cart. But it's really important to start thinking about the overall experience. Once someone lands on the site, are you building their trust? Are you showing them the things that they need to care, about the cart that they are building on your store? So, any moment of hesitation can really cause things to drop off. So, UX early on the product page, helping build that trust as items get added, but also just making sure that you're all sort of meeting and exceeding the expectations you set along the way. Now, demonstrating that trust throughout the journey can be really challenging, of course, but it really comes down to just really risking over communication. Go for it though. To see your slides up.
Perfect. So yes, I agree a lot with what Ian is saying, and I think, to be very specific, mostly I'm gonna talk, of course, from the perspective of the email marketing company where I'm part of. So from Omnisend perspective, and how do brands perform in this regard particularly. Of course, I know that for most of y'all, you'll start seeing that everything probably starts coming up together, and you're probably gonna also understand that most of these flows are gonna be global, regardless of the channel or a specific tools that you're using. But in our case, from what I would notice is that the most abandonment is happening at checkout, for instance. And there's some reasons that people abandon here, and there are many of them. We have run certain surveys, and we have also analyzed the market, since this is one of our major cases, and also a very, very high revenue tool for our customers on the passive way without having to use active campaigns and so on. And in many cases is because when people has reached the checkout stage, when the intention or the purpose to buy is already that close to become already a solid result, is that you start showing new fees or some shipping fees that they probably weren't aware before they were probably about to purchase the product. And in many cases that makes a big difference, because we know that for low value items, for low value products, it might be that the whole fee that you will pay for shipments or extra, will come probably higher than the product itself. So in many cases, and this we're talking about 70 to 75% of the people has abandoned the cart at this stage. Yeah, so it's a very, very, very big number. And also, if you just want to around estimate from what we found, it's around 18 billion annually, dollars are being, just left there in the cart because of these specific reasons. So Then also the forced account creation. This also depends on how you are managing your store, how you're doing your marketing. If you are really relying on customers to provide that extra information, to provide that extra access and give you an account and so on, that will create friction, that will create extra steps, and it will probably create that friction in the head of the customer, avoiding them to just go through with the purchase, taking a longer time, checking competitors, going and finding the product somewhere else. So this is small friction when you are in a high-paced market, it really pays a toll. And then you can also have slow delivery times, maybe break expectations. People were expecting to receive some goods quickly, they had that in mind, and eventually they realize that it's not going to come when they want, and it just breaks down there. So in many cases, of course, what is here the idea is to understand when are you informing your customers about every hidden fee. Are you leaving everything until the end? Maybe you are informing them in advance once they have abandoned already the cart. Just set it up and be like, okay, this is what's going to happen. Once you have added a product to cart, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to come in your way, and inform customers about that. Because when you have already a customer database and you are repeating your purchases and they are coming back to you, they must be aware of what you're willing to offer. They must be aware of what is that you are requesting them for them to finish with a purchase. And I think if you really just as to answer the question in general, this is the place where we see the most abandonment here, at least in the email marketing world. And in many cases, of course, is also the most important flow that all marketers can have enabled just to have passive income. So in general, these two things, you put them together and think of the relevance of actually clarifying how things should be from the beginning would really help you sort this step up.
Yeah,
But
maybe
yes,
just a little bit of layer of nuance to tie our answers together a bit is that it's not necessarily that the checkout or the cart is where the abandonment is triggered by, but it is the most actionable area. If you haven't done a lot of optimization yet, this is the area to start, because everything else will be magnified by good results here.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the number one reason I drop off anytime I'm trying to buy something is I wasn't expecting that shipping fee. I'm like, you know what? That's a little too high. Let me go look elsewhere, see if I can get that price down. Follow-up question around that. So do you approach cart abandonment differently from checkout abandonment, or do you treat them the same?
So yes, Ian, you can go ahead then.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I do actually consider building the cart to be very different from actually landing on the checkout page and making a decision. They're sort of you're still at that consideration stage. The experience of browsing around a store and looking at all the things, clicking at the cart might be a signal of interest, but not necessarily of intent. So I look at optimizing, your shop archive pages and your single product pages as a separate activity, separate task. That being said, the checkout itself, if they've gotten to that point where they're entering an email address or, typing in a credit card number and haven't clicked place order yet, that is somebody who's shown meaningful intent to purchase. That's somebody who's really right at that point where if you lose them, then it's because you've broken some commitment, either something you've already told them or something implied by the product or the UX or whatever.
I definitely agree 100% with what Ian said. In both ways. The first one that breaking once you're in the checkout stage is the highest intent of purchase already. You can understand that the reason why people abandon it is gonna be from what we said previously. Some slow user experience. They probably didn't really go ahead with it because it was too complicated for them. They didn't understand where to put things. It was a little bit too overwhelming in general. But I 100% agree that this should be treated, and every single stage of abandonment, in my opinion, should be treated as a separate path. So every single stage wherever a customer is landing, from the moment they enter your website, when you're giving them the welcome, when you're offering them something for them to sign up to your newsletter or whatever, when they are abandoning certain products, when they are viewing things around in your store, wherever you can be targeting them. And then, sequentially, the cart and checkout, they could be the same in a way, yes, because the content could be similar at some points. And in many cases, for many stores, for many markets, it will be a pretty similar experience for the user. But in my experience, it's the best to separate them as much as possible. So as Ian said, the person that is adding products to cart, they might just wanted to have it there because they are really browsing through a lot of things, and in the end they might not even end up purchasing that product, but replace it with something that they looked at later, and so on. So that's the whole that gives you already the whole idea of what you must do in those stages. So if a person is just as it says here, you're in a cart, sort of a window shopper looking around, not really committed to purchase yet, because in many cases, and I guess it happens to all of us, we are browsing, we are adding products to cart, and then probably we've never opened that website again in our lives. Yes, so it really could happen, and it really happens. So to just know what you want to communicate to those people that are abandoning the cart. So maybe they didn't find what they were looking for. You're gonna probably suggest them something that is similar. Probably you're gonna suggest them something that other people that were looking at the same thing purchased. While the checkout one is mostly trying to convince the person to take that last step, trying to ask, okay, so what happened? What was it that disrupted your flow, that you didn't finish your purchase? What was it that interrupted the way things were going? And one thing that I think is very important here is a relative persistence when you're communicating with this. I have experienced through time that many brands, many markets that are just having a single touch point whenever somebody abandons whatever stage through the purchase. The single touch point is not going to really make a difference on the long term, because just to put it in numbers, if 40% of the audience that you sent certain reminder to was only 40% people that was reacting to it, opening it, clicking on it, and just in the end converting from it, there's the other 60% that potentially could still be there, especially at the checkout stage. So I'm pretty sure Ian will agree with this, and they need that extra touch, I would believe, and would advise anybody who is preparing these flows in any channel or any existing they're working with to approach them at least a couple times, to approach them, to think of what you can offer in order to convince somebody that is not willing to purchase at the first intent. If you have the possibility to offer something, go ahead with it. Why not?
Yeah, and I agree fully, especially at the checkout stage. I would also just throw in there that before, like during the cart, when they're still building a cart, when they're still adding to the cart, your goal at that point should still actually be about sort of either presenting them with content or other products that help them feel more closer to they found the value they're seeking. You're not actually getting to that point of trying to like close the sale, trying to get them to actually transact. You're really just continuing to build trust at that stage, present them with more opportunity. But once you get them into the checkout flow, multiple touch points, absolutely. If they got to the point where they started to type out their personal information, get in touch. And especially with larger carts, especially, right? Take the time, invest the effort, certainly.
That certainly pulled me back into certain sites myself when I started that process. So how soon after should you reach out after somebody has abandoned the cart, right? What's the balance between being helpful versus being pushy?
Yeah, I mean, right off the top, I think the very first notification should be within a couple of hours at the latest. It's, they've left, get back top of mind as soon as possible. Now, as far as that question of when does it feel more spammy or like overdoing it, very significantly across industry stores, who your customer is and how they got there. So that is something that, like, I don't think there is one right answer. There is a lot of experimentation necessary for your individual store. I will say, though, on average, 3 touch points across about a week, so one within a couple of hours, one within a day or two, one about a week later is usually a safe starting point. Matias, I'm sure you have a lot more experience.
I think you said almost everything I wanted to say, because it's exactly the same as I would suggest. And actually, that's based on the research that has been done for this specific purpose. Yeah. So you don't want to be too quick to remind your customers for like that something must be done. You don't want to be too quick to call them to action, because then you're most likely going to lose them. You're going to be spammy without wanting to. So give them the time. Let them cook a little bit. Let them think. We're not, of course, during this time you may be thinking in your head they are looking at competitors, they are looking somewhere else, they are probably thinking where else they purchase it. But yes, they might still have their doubts on them, and they are also going to receive emails from them most likely if they went to that stage too. But with you can be certain that if they have reached already a checkout, they were pretty much convinced that they wanted to make this purchase with you. So you can take your time, let them make the decision, curate your content, make it as personalized, as unique as possible for that single customer. And then, of course, as Ian said in the previous and in this question, follow up with certain strategy behind. So let them then, if they, and I think in here, depending on the capabilities that the tools that you're using have, also understand what have they done with that first reminder that you send them. Have they actually reacted to it? Have they opened it? Have they clicked on it? Based on that, am I gonna, even customize even further what the second one is gonna be for those that opened and those that didn't? Am I gonna see that the people that didn't open, maybe they need an extra push? Maybe I'm gonna throw a discount there if I can. Maybe I'm gonna throw some extra value that I could offer over there. And then, of course, as Ian also said, a third one after a little bit. In this case, I said not to let more than 3 days pass, but yes, within a week to have those 3 touch points, I think is more than enough too. And just, of course, one thing that I think we can both agree, and everybody else will just assume from common sense, don't do more than that. That's really, unless you really think is necessary, unless you see that the metrics of every single of the communications that you send, the reminders, are still very big, then maybe follow up, but be very conscious of it.
Yeah, in my experience, the first email is going to result in over half of the success of the total campaign, right? Like, it's the very first reminder is enough that it'll bring them back. The card will be waiting for them. They'll wrap that up. The second and third offers, it really is about that experimentation. And I like what you have on the slide here, social proof, maybe a light incentive on that third attempt. And that's what you should experiment with first. Like, don't start adding or removing a bunch of stuff. Don't worry about timing as much until you found like the offer that makes each email as effective as it can be. Definitely test both, but I would start with finding the right offer.
One thing I forgot to say also, that I think Ian said it, and I didn't build on top of that, is test. Don't be afraid to test. No audience is the same. No market is the same. No industry is the same. So I can tell you 1 hour right now, but maybe for your customers is 30 minutes. Maybe for your customers is 1 day. Maybe you're selling very high price items. Maybe for your customers it's going to be 3-4 days a week. So test both paths, see which one is performing better, and stick to one. No need to follow this line. It's always better to experiment in time.
No, that's great. And you know what I take away from that? Wait for that third email. Sounds like that's when my discount code or free shipping might be coming in. So don't pull that trigger immediately. So with that, those follow-ups. So what channels do you recommend, or have you seen be most effective for recovering that? Is it email, or is it SMS, push notifications, targeting ads? Like, what do you recommend?
Yeah, I have a very simple answer for this one. I'm sure you'll have a lot more, Matias, actually. I'll just jump in here. Email's cheap, and there's a million blog posts on the best way to do it. I would recommend always start with email. Now, I do think SMS has a huge opportunity to be even more effective for certain types of stores. I think there's a little bit more risk of doing SMS wrong. I think unless you're using a tool with good guardrails, or you understand the best practices, you can mess that up a lot easier and upset people more than you help your store, right? So I think that's something to play safe. Retargeting is super effective as well. I know you have that on the list here. I kind of view that a little bit differently, but I think that for big ticket items, getting people back, if your average order size is big enough that you can actually meaningfully run retargeting ads, that's great. But again, I think it's even more niche than SMS. I would essentially move down this tier of email to SMS to retargeting ads. And then push notifications. I have never really experimented with, but mobile first might be something there, right?
I again 100%. Oh yeah, go Matt.
Oh no, sorry. I was just gonna see if what you had to add. Sorry.
So no, yes, like I agree 100% with Matt, and just one thing that I think could even settle down the comment that Matt said first a little bit more is that email has been there for so long, and it still remains pretty much the same as it ever was, and and it really shows that the results haven't changed. It's something they have become better because the infrastructure is much greater, is much bigger, and of course the accessibility of the population to the internet and to all these tools is much greater than it was before. So it hasn't lost power. Maybe people in some other fields and industries that are not marketing related may think that email is already an obsolete tool, yes, that you're just using for work purposes. But actually, when you start with that conscious mind of I'm a customer and I'm receiving 100 emails a day from brands that I haven't heard of already in a year, then you can start thinking the magnitude of email itself and how big it is. And as Ian said, is going to be always the cheapest of all of your potential kind of channels that you may use. And again, I second what he said about SMS. I think SMS is still a very powerful tool, but you have to be extremely strategic about it, and you have to be really careful about it because unlike an email, it's harder to ignore, I would say. So you would definitely be like, who is this guy texting me?
Like the typical person reads every text they get. The typical person does not read every email they get. So there is that. The value of being in their hand is definitely meaningful. Now, there's two things, and one is on the slide here of using channels together. Like your SMS campaign needs to be aware of your email campaign. If anything, like you should like weave them together, have that be part of the steps. It also gets to the segmentation of your audience. If you have like a membership program or a loyalty rewards program, and you get people to opt into SMS via that, and then also use it for things like cart recovery, then you often, that it's more than just like an official, like they checked a box to opt in. Have they volunteered to let you text them? Like, do they really expect you as a brand to send them that type of communication? And again, that comes to that question of trust and building it early. But, SMS gets a lot more interesting with like recurring customers and, lifetime customer value more so than, recovering a sale on an initial cart.
Definitely. And I think it's pretty much also legally regarding GDPR and all this compliance, you face much more risk making a mistake within the SMS world than you would do with email. And for instance, push notifications, such an estimated kind of channel, because I think it really has a lot of value for what it represents. It can be more massive. It is less. It does cause no harm if you do it wrong. In many cases, people can just opt out of it very easily without causing any trouble to your list, to your reputation, to anything. So I think, and I also, one thing Ian mentioned here, and I think is very important, combine them, and in this case, use them as the fallback option. So if I have a sequence of emails coming in, first email, second email, third email, and there's still a percentage of the population that didn't open any of them, then maybe I nudge them with an SMS, and probably that's when they're going to react, because as you said, most likely people are going to see it, unlike they probably won't see the email. They are ignoring it on purpose. Yes.
Yeah, I think my wife would fall into that category with her 10,000 unread emails. That SMS push actually might get her to take some actions. I think those messages are just getting lost in that inbox somewhere along the way. So with that said, how do you personalize, abandonment recovery messages to increase that chance of a conversion, right? I love what you said about, right, the balance of it, maybe the 2 emails before you get to the text. I think that makes a lot of sense. And so where does that personalization come in?
Yeah. Well, right off the hop, I'm going to caution on personalization. I know this is sort of an aside to the question. The amount of room you have to experiment, how successful your store already is, should definitely inform how much custom solutions you put in place for a personalized campaign. There's a few things that are very obvious that I think that I would consider even for a relatively new or smaller store. Like if you have a very expensive product and if you say you sell like fireplaces and fireplace accessories, maybe you have a different campaign for a fireplace than all the stuff that goes around it, basically, right? So, if your average order value has these wild swings, maybe don't wait for experimentation. But personalization around, different campaigns for people who already know your brand well versus people who are relatively new is another area that I think is pretty straightforward and can be done for just about anybody. But broadly speaking, something like a cart email, like a cart recovery campaign, if you start with like a 3 email template and just send the same thing to everybody, you're getting 80% of the results. So personalization comes with optimization. You've already got the basics in place, and then you want to start getting clever about it to get from 80% to 100. But yeah, please add, Matias.
I think everything is there already, and I would agree in the way that you almost all the job is done without personalization, but with personalization you reach that little percentage of people that wasn't reacting to that. So it's like you add on top of it is like the extra value is your added value for their added value, I would say. So you are giving that extra effort, that extra time on personalizing emails, on setting things up to be more precise, more on point, for them to also give that extra attention that they probably weren't giving before. And what I would say here a little bit is what Ian touched in the previous question. I think is very important, rather than personalization, in a way to segment things, to know who you send to. In many cases, I think in my experience, it will make much more difference than personalization itself. So if you're more responsible and more aware of who you're sending to, when are you sending them and what's the content exactly that you're sending to a specific segment that you have created, that already, I think, makes all the difference, regardless of if you're personalizing those communications to the name and the specific details of the user that is reading it. Yes, I think it just makes much more difference because you are acting on their intent to purchase rather than on their sentimental attachment to whatever you have sent them, which I think is more thinking long term. Yes, if you have a customer that is already in your list for a long time and you know that they are still opening your communications, still engaging with you, probably purchasing every once in a while, then become personal with them, become close with them, create that close relationship with them, an awareness of your brand, some kind of care for your brand too, and that the name of your brand is in their head all the time. But if you are rotating your list, if you are big on ads and you're bringing new leads all the time to your store, better, I think, put the effort in segmentation and understand who is coming, when, what do they want to receive, and of course, what are you going to do with that information that they're giving you, and it's updating on a daily basis.
Yeah, and one thing to tie that back to personalization, I would say, is rather than creating like 70 different custom paths through your website or a bunch of different flows, just early on, think about the entire customer journey. Like, who are the people that should land here? How do you make the entire experience perfect for the imagined, the hero customer? Who's the exact person that this should be personalized for? And then just build for that person, from the landing page all the way through to the offer, to the cart, whatever, and personalize it for the imagined ideal person, basically.
So I want to bring up a question from the audience that I think ties in well to this topic. So what URL are you using for a cart and checkout abandonment? Are you always sending them to the checkout page, or are you redirecting them to the cart page, or even the home page? What approach do you take in these areas?
Well, in our product, CheckoutWC, we drop them just right back on the checkout page with the cart rebuilt for them. So it's kind of in exactly the state that, ideally, it's in the exact state they left it in. Now, whether they're there or not becomes the question. But basically, you want to bring them as close to the finished transaction as possible. Right?
I think here is also coming back to, I think, the first or second question that we had, how particularly specialized are you with each workflow? Have you separated the stage of cart abandonment and checkout abandonment? Because then definitely you would change the URLs for each of them. Maybe the person that abandoned the cart, as we said, still looking for something. We're going to bring them back to the cart to tell them, take the next step, look at these other items, add something else. Maybe we don't even bring them to the cart, just bring them to the store. The card will be saved there, and they can bring some other items on top of it. But the people that is already on the checkout, we don't want to push them into doing something else because we know that the purchase is closer than the other audience. So maybe we want to redirect them already to to a fully completed cart or to the start of the checkout. And I think there is no definite answer for this one. If you split those automations, if you split those flows, and you actually manage to touch each step of the customer as long as they are taking them and are next to them, I believe you can really split both of them to be completely different endings, and the URLs to be completely separate in both of them too.
Oh, that's great advice. I appreciate that. So, I already shared earlier, right? I love a good discount that's going to bring me back into my cart. But what are some other strategies that work just as well?
Yeah, this is a great question, actually. And right off the hop, I do want to lead with, do not train your customers to expect a discount. It's one of the worst things you can do. I'm sure you have stores like, even like retail stores you go to where on the real price and you just know it walking in. That is the worst thing you can do to your store. Like literally, as soon as your customer base believes the discount was always available, that you just have to do that from now on, basically. So be very cautious with discounts as a whole. Now, to Matias's earlier slide there, right off the top, abandoned carts showing social proof, things that other people like you enjoyed this product in these ways. If you can get like user-generated content mixed in, like not just like, if you have like an Instagram, campaign where people are using the product, obviously it depends on your industry, but you can get permission to use those things. And, the social proof and the trust is what matters most. But now, if you want to offer something that feels tangible, though, like if you want to give them something for signing up right now, you can make other commitments other than discounts as well, right? So, one thing is scarcity. If you have like low stock, make sure it's actually true, but show them, right? Show them, there's 2 left, buy now or else it might be gone forever. That'll work on me. I don't know about you, but like that, it will always, I don't even know if I want something. You tell me it's going away forever, I will buy it. It's just 100% of the time. But even like simple things, especially for smaller stores, like if you buy from this email, I will personally go ship it out today. Just make a commitment of some kind. And people love that. Just follow through on those little weird commitments. Make sure that they're real. Bring the customer back again, right?
I have almost no comments to add to that. I think is a very good answer, but but yes, like and I want to second also Ian in what he said about don't get your customers used to discounts. I think you have to decide if you're going to become that story, because as you said, once you have made a decision, you're going to probably get that expectation from them too. So if you have decided that, then be strategic about it. There's within the tools that you're using for the marketing itself, understand who deserves the discount and who doesn't. Split your flows according to the amount of money that they are willing to spend on you, because is a higher ROI. They're spending a lot, and I give them a little discount, then it's not a big hit for me. It's actually a sort of extra motivation for them to actually convert. So I think the answer here is if you haven't found another way to get that response from customers besides discount, be strategic about it. Don't be giving it away. Don't be making it as Matt said before. We know that it's coming in the 3rd email, so we're going to wait until the 3rd email. It's kind of created this psychology in the customer of understanding that things are coming their way eventually because you have made that so. And yes, as you said too, it's this value proposition, I think, can come in many other ways. It depends how. I think you have to analyze also how often is a customer gonna come back and purchase from you again, how long you want to keep them with you, how willing are you to sacrifice other things too, and also what things can you give away that are not going to harm you in any way. Maybe you have some overstocked tiny value item that you can add to the basket in case they purchase in that same day. Could be anything, could be a sticker. People could actually fall for it. So
Fall for it, yeah. I do want to throw in there the loyalty perks and early access. I'm a huge fan of that sort of thing. And I would actually even double down on that further and say that the offer doesn't actually have to be less than what was in their cart. Like you can actually present them with an offer that's bigger than, like it's more expensive than what they left with. And sometimes that will actually convert better. It's just, are you able to identify the value? Is it the right customer segment for the right value you're offering? And if you say have like a core product set that most people like that buy, and their cart contained items adjacent to that, you can actually send them a reminder that, hey, you might have missed that this is here, and that might actually help convert better as well. So it's not always about saving more or giving them less. You could flat out say, this costs double, but it might be what you really wanted. And some stores will find success with that.
I agree 100%. And I would name it there just with the best intentions of this sentence, but gaslight the customer a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, just the best way to approach it then.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I've definitely fallen for that. Get a free sticker if you order now, right? I mean, not a sticker, but I'm like, so I'm getting something for free. It's better than nothing, right? And that kind of pulls me in again, or at least piques my interest on that. I'm gonna click. I'm gonna go in, and next thing I know, I'm down the rabbit hole.
It's only for the next 5 customers.
Yeah. So next question I have. So what role do tools and like automation platforms, CRMs, or analytics dashboards play in building these effective abandonment flows?
Yeah, I do have a couple of thoughts on this question. I'm going to give Matias more space for this one, though, because I will say you definitely need something, but I do think that the tooling isn't the most important thing here. It is the time invested in experimentation and doing the work to try what's best. And Omnisend's a great tool. Our tool CheckoutWC has some of the things you need to do these experiments as well. MailChimp, Klaviyo, Groundhog's a cool tool. All of it works. It's what tool feels right for you, what support experience is gonna, what company makes you feel like they've got your best interest at heart, etc. They all do good work, though. But yeah, jump in, Matias.
Yes, here I think for both of us, just a matter of self-promotion a little bit here, but yes, I mean, the tools are there, as you said, and it happens because when we're working here and you start touching ground with a lot of brands that have worked with other tools before, it doesn't really change. There are things that are more difficult. There are things you win, there are things you lose. Yeah, so things are probably more difficult elsewhere to set up, and you don't have the time to do it. So you need something that is quicker, that is simpler. Some things are let's say in X platform are set up in a way that you are not feeling comfortable with. In Y platform is a little bit different. So it's as Ian said, you find a way to feel more comfortable, but the strategy has to be there because you are the one setting things up. And I think you can test these tools and be like, okay, I'm going to create an account in each of them and be these and these and these and these and that, and then come with your conclusions and say which is the plus and minus for each of them. But basically it comes up to what was the strategy that you set before you were actually picking the because one thing you can come is with a blank state and blank page to the page itself, and to be like, okay, I'm going to create an account here and I'm going to start selling from zero, and I have never done it before. I didn't have a strategy, I didn't have a plan. And then you're going to be reliant of what the platform can offer to you. So it's like, okay, so this platform is suggesting me to do this, I'm going to do it. This platform is suggesting me to do this, I'm going to do it. And then you are completely dependent on what you are being suggested, either by AI, either by the recommendations that are personalized there, or by even the human touch that somebody can give you from that place. But I would really advise there to come with a plan, understand what are my needs, my necessities, what is exactly the things that I want to achieve, how do I want to achieve it, and again, as Ian said, what is the extra value that this company is giving to me? I'm gonna not only consider the tool itself, but the support they're giving me, the information I can find about them online, and all the things that would make me self-sufficient. And in general, the tools are there. I would really encourage people to go out and investigate, to invest time in understanding what their needs are mostly, and then I'm pretty sure the tool will come very quickly once you type that prompt into ChatGPT and say, like, I need to do this, which is the best tool. It's going to give you 5 options there and tell you, hey, this is probably the best way for you to go. So yeah, the strategy.
And I don't want it to sound like just a non-committal answer, but ultimately, like, some of them, like, you won't vibe with some of the tools. Some of them will feel clunky, even though they're great for other people. They're all different. They all do a lot of the same things. As you even see with Matias and I with some of these earlier answers, we're saying basically the same strategies. We're probably executing on them fairly differently. Just the best practices are there regardless of what tool you use. I do, to tie it to the original question one time, though, the analytics dashboards, make sure you like what they show you there. Make sure those feel useful, because the measures that you're presented with are going to guide your experimentation more than anything else. And that getting that wrong could do a lot of damage in the long run. So.
And one extra advice there, just now that you mentioned that, be sure that you're aware of what they are planning forward. Because if with the very fast moving tech world nowadays, one platform might be very useful today, but tomorrow another one that is 10 times, let's say, more economical, or just in general, that has never been in the market before, and now it's just there, and it's something even that it could be for free use, and you can just go on there and get the same results as before. So be aware of what's the value that is coming along the line. What is the roadmap of that company? How committed are they to make those advancements that you are requiring, that you are pushing for, that you really look into having, and understand how much they are listening to you and how committed they are to implementing those things.
Gentlemen, this has been fantastic. We just have time for one more question, right? And this is a pretty easy one. So what are your thoughts about Prepathon and your experience as a guest speaker?
So go in.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I appreciate the opportunity to jump in, and I made a few notes, just been talking a bit. It's been a lot of fun, and I've checked out some of the other sessions, and it's a good time. Thank you.
Same from my end. It's very good to be out there, to know that we can reach more and more of the community here, and understand that we are there for people too, and for any needs. Just put ourselves out there, I think, and I get to know you guys too. Ian, Matt, and all the guys in backstage too. That we really are appreciating this and having fun with it too.
Well, thank you. I really appreciated it. I didn't expect to walk away learning so much. So thank you both for your time. Hopefully the audience found this session as helpful as I did. With that said, next up, we have the Ecom Showdown, the ultimate quiz battle hosted by Moise. So stick around. He'll be on in a couple minutes. Thank you so much.